You want to take over a country, you've got to disarm the people first. History proves it to be true, and now the Democrats, led by the ultra-gun-hating Sheila Jackson Lee of Texas, have introduced the most comprehensive, overreaching, unconstitutional form of gun control that I have ever seen, and I've been doing this a long time. She quietly filed her gun grab scheme exactly 1 month ago. I've got a copy of it, and if passed, it could be years before the Supreme Court rules it unconstitutional, which means you would be forced to live by its offensive and obscene mandates that would not only put the law-abiding in danger, but it would turn nearly every law-abiding gun owner into a criminal for simply exercising their constitutional rights. Let me go over some of what is in this overreaching bill. To purchase a gun, you need to apply to the federal government for a license. You will need to undergo a psychological evaluation. That's right. And complete a 24-hour training course. Now, remember, gun ownership in this country is a right protected by the Constitution. We do not ask permission from the government to exercise our First Amendment rights, even though it seems like it's headed that way sometimes. We don't require so-called journalists to take a how to be unbiased class before they are licensed to report on issues. And imagine if you needed to buy a Fourth Amendment license when the police knock on your door to search your home. Oh, I'm sorry, sir. You didn't pay for your illegal search and seizure license, so we can just come in without a warrant. You see, gun ownership is the only right that has these restrictions. It has the restrictions that it does. And the reasons are because Democrats don't respect it. They don't accept it either as a valid, inalienable right granted to us by our Creator, not some anti-freedom bureaucrat. That's not who gives us this right. So this right here is an oldie but a goodie from Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, the author of this bill.
I've held an AR-15 in my hand. I wish I had it. It is as heavy as 10 boxes that you might be moving. And the bullet that is utilized, a 50 caliber, these kinds of bullets, need to be licensed and do not need to be on the street.
I told you she does not know what she's talking about, and I also told you it's a classic. An AR-15 is not heavy. In fact, it only weighs about 6.5 pounds. That's just a tad more than a 2-liter bottle of soda. And 50 caliber bullets? AR-15s don't take 50 caliber bullets. These Marine sniper rifles do. All of us who use ARs to hunt, for sport, for self-defense use 223 ammo. And just to prove Sheila Jackson Lee is wrong, a totally uninformed rube when it comes to guns, and that's who's writing the legislation, by the way, you couldn't do this with an AR if it took 50 caliber ammo and weighed as heavy as 10 boxes.
I'm going to fire this weapon off the tip of my nose. Not broken, not bleeding, not bruised. Thank you for your time.
Oh, it's not. And I have used that example many times to prove the point that it is not this violent, hurtful, devastating gun, unless you're using it for self-defense or to hunt, of course. So Sheila Jackson Lee is proven, right there, to be devious in her assessment of AR-15s. If you're going to try to regulate or even confiscate any firearm, shouldn't you use it first? Well, of course you should. If it was actually about the gun. You see, this is about control of all of you. There are upwards of 400 million guns in America now. She and Joe Biden want all of them registered. I don't even think the government could undertake that task. Not to mention, it will have zero effect on so-called gun violence and crime. There's more to this bill, too. If passed, in order to buy or keep your guns, you need 2 references, family members, maybe associates, to vouch for you, apparently. And you have to buy insurance at a cost of $800 a year. There are penalties if you break some of these rules that could cost you up to $150,000 and 25 years in prison. This is what I'm talking about making good people into criminals. All of it is a prelude to confiscation. The former Soviet Union did it. On December 10th, 1918, it turned to the most proven form of suppression, gun confiscation. Failure to comply led to criminal prosecution and, of course, imprisonment in the Soviet Union. In 1938, Hitler signed the, quote, Gun Control Act that disarmed the Jews and prohibited Jews from working in the firearms industry. We all know how that one worked out. And in 1959, Fidel Castro took advantage of the very same gun registration lists now pushed by Biden's Democrats. Castro went house to house to disarm people. He famously declared this during that time: weapons. For what? To fight against whom, he said. Against the revolutionary government that has the support of the people? Well, if you have the support of the people, you don't need to take away guns. What happened in those countries? And more recently, what happened in countries like Venezuela and South Africa? They're run by dictators. It is frightening in the similarities to what is inside this bill being pushed today through Congress. This is the time when all of our voices matter. Unify around this issue. Whether you're a gun owner or not, this affects you, because the one secret that Democrats in Washington don't want you to know is that there are plenty of Democrats that own guns too, and more of them are buying them every day.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them, tell them you want Newsmax TV, because we're real news for real people.